And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, I'm Tom Vasel. Today we're taking a look at Spring Rally. Spring Rally is based on those spring cars, the ones you wind up, you put them down, and then they zoom across the floor. That's what you're doing in this game. You're a racing car, you're winding up the spring, and then letting it go. It is also a trick-taking game, a la Hearts and Spades, where players are going to play cards from their hand, trying to win tricks, which will then allow their card to move forward. That's pretty much the base of the game. It's a trick-taking racing game. I do not know how many of these I've played. Probably none so far. Let's take a look at this one. Each player is going to place their car on a track here. They're also going to get a wind-up spring with their color that's going to be turned through here. Starts at 0, goes up to 16, then drops back down to 4. You have a deck of cards. This card has 3 different suits in it. There's red, green, and blue. Each of these has numbers going from 1 to 15. You're going to use a certain grouping of numbers depending on how many players are in the game. The game's going to last 3 rounds. In the first round, you're going to give everyone 5 cards, then 7, then 9, dealt from the deck. One person goes first, and that person plays a card from their hand. Here, a blue 6. Each other player must play a blue card if they have one in their hand. If they don't have a blue card, they can play any color they have. Once all the cards have been played, whoever plays the highest card wins this trick. So here the 14 wins the trick. They look at the lowest card, which is 5, and they'll move 5 spaces forward. So let's say orange did it. Orange would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Unfortunately, this red is an uphill, so it'll slide back 1 space. If yellow had moved 5 here, they would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, slide back down and pop back over orange, and so on and so forth. You can skip. You must always skip a spot. If you land on these blue spots, you slide the other direction downhill. Now, if someone plays a color that's different than the color lead, because they have no more blues, then the second color, whoever plays the highest number of that color wins. So in this case, even though the 13 is higher than the 8 because it was the second card played, the green disc player would win, and they would move, again, the lowest number. If a third color is played, then the third color, the highest card of the third color, will win the trick. After the person who wins the trick moves, everybody who did not win the trick, which is all the other players, will wind their spring 1 spot. In the future, when you win a trick, so let's say I'm here at 10, I've lost 4 tricks, and I win one and I go 5 spaces. I can release it, add this 10 to my 5, and now go 15 spaces. Not only that, at the end of a round, everybody must release their springs and move that many spaces. Although you see, if you lose too many tricks, you'll eventually, instead of going 16, you'll go only 8 or 4. Again, each spot you go over will each spot with a car in it doesn't count for other spaces. Once you pass the finish line, you'll flip this over to show that you've passed the finish line. And if you pass it when your ring is red like that, again, you've won the race. You got to go around twice. Otherwise, after the end of the third hand of cards, whoever is the farthest ahead is the winner of the game. Interestingly enough, these are really cool, these springs. There's a couple, this one in particular, where I have trouble with the board. It did not fit in perfectly. They move, but this one is a little stickier when it moves. But these are pretty neat. Unfortunately, these can't stay in there. I would have glued them in, but they won't fit in the box that way. The box has a nice insert where you can put each of the different wind-up things in the spot here, but that's not a big deal. The components are nice, and in fact, the board here, there's actually 2 sides. This one's a little trickier because it has 2 uphill sections. The other one, with lava, has 2 downhill sections and only 1 uphill section. The cards themselves have different cars on them, although there's really no symbol on the card that differentiates it. You can go by, I guess, the symbols, and I haven't really looked at these too strongly. There's no real way to differentiate between colors. That would have been an easier thing to do. I don't mind the artwork on them. The artwork's cool and funny, but it might be tricky to remember which one's which. I guess maybe the background, the greens have green stuff, The reds have a cactus, and the blues have puffy clowns. Okay, I guess that's another way to separate them. The cards are very good quality, and then there's also a first player marker, and this is given to the winner. Pretty good components. Like the artwork, like the look, it's fun. The gameplay itself is fairly esoteric. So it's an interesting trick-taking game where trump is the second color and or third color, which means at the beginning of the game you can feel pretty confident if you play a card of a color, everyone else has it, but as time goes by, you can feel pretty confident if you lead with a color, someone else may not have that color and you're going to automatically lose. And so you have to figure out when to play what card, when to play those high cards, because if I play the 15, I got it, and then you play the 1, I've moved a single space. That was a waste of my 15. So going last can often be very useful, but only with the cards that you have. So because of this weird nature, this esoteric nature of the game with the with playing the cards, it can feel random, and I'm not convinced there is a ton of strategy. You could just, get unlucky with the way that the cards are dealt. And because it's not a perfect information game, especially at the first 2 rounds, all the cards aren't dealt out. So some cards are back and you don't know what's where. You got to go into this one with kind of a light heart. But what makes this game is the springs. It really does. I'm losing every trick. That's okay, because your spring's going to eventually burst at the end. Well, of course, if it could burst and you only move a few spaces, but that probably won't happen. You'll probably shoot forward a certain number of spaces, and that just feels good. I might be losing, but at least my car went. And thematically, the idea of winding it too tight and it doesn't work as well, that's in here too. So this is a light trick-taking game. It actually works with kids too, and it's not very long. It says 20 minutes on the box. Maybe it might be slightly longer than that, but that's pretty close to accurate. And it's colorful and fun. And so I would look at this as an introductory trick-taking game. One that you can teach people. This kind of a trick-taking game's work. But the trick-taking, while present, is tie with the actual racing part of the game. And the springs make it fun and almost is a catch-up mechanism, although not quite if you play poorly enough. I thought it was interesting and unique. If you're looking for something that feels a little different off the beaten path, then I would recommend Spring Rally. Dice Tower Judgment approved.
Thanks so much for watching another Dice Tower video. If you enjoy our videos, subscribe to the channel for more fun, comprehensive board game coverage. Also, consider joining us at one of our events. Come to Dice Tower Retreat, a small, intimate gathering where gaming is king. Join us for Dice Tower Cruise, the largest board game cruise. Attend Dice Tower West in Las Vegas for gaming fun on the West Coast, or Dice Tower East in Orlando in sunny Florida. Dice Tower Conventions, the friendliest gaming conventions on Earth. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching the Dice Tower.